Alright, what's up YouTube, it's your boy Bento, and welcome to Doki Doki I'm Alive. Now, actually before we even do anything, let's just go to our load, and as you can see, if you can see, we already have a few saved games here, and the reason for that is I have to re-record this part. I really had to re-record this part. Yet again, I had another technical difficulty where OBS only captured my audio, and when recording, my screen froze on OBS, so it only recorded that one screen for the entire 1 hour or whatever that was recorded of footage. So I have the other parts ready, but I just have to record this, and then everything else will be in order, hopefully. Now, it's been a while since I recorded the last part, or since I recorded this part, actually, part 2. So, my memory is kind of blurry as to where part 1 left off, but if I can remember some stuff from the first part. We started off the game, and it started off at the ending events of Exit Music Original, where we went to school and all that, went to club room, and everyone was trying to show their sympathy. Of course, that's what we least wanted, and yeah. It was time to leave. Everyone had already left, so Monika said she was gonna walk us home, just so we don't do anything stupid along the way, and we accepted. Of course, we made up an excuse, said we needed to go to the bathroom, so we did. And then we took out a poem. It was a suicide note. We walk out with this sort of weird face on our face. And of course Monika notices it and sees the poem, asks to read it, and while she's reading it, we take the chance like that to just run off. We run off to the nearest bridge where we shall soon be reunited with Natsuki in the afterlife. Apparently Monika is also a quick runner, because she caught up to us and managed to get us down. But we didn't want that life. A life without Natsuki was something that was unbearable. So with what little strength we had, we threw Monika to the side and jumped. She screamed out our name, so that was our last moment haunting us for the rest of the mod. And I will say, the face that was made when she screamed out her name was horrifying. I'm petrified. I have nightmares of it. Either way. We then wake up in some sort of place where we then get introduced to some dude named Dan. Dan Salvato, I think. We get introduced to this dude named Dan, told us that the place where we were at is called Limbo, and he said that I have a second chance, we were given a chance at life again. But of course I told them that that was the reason why we came here. I didn't want life, I wanted unless we had Natsuki with us. When we said that, Natsuki just materialized out of nowhere. We broke down, hugged her and all that, exchanged tears and all that, and then Dan told us what was to happen. We were gonna give a second chance at life with a condition: to murder our murderer, so we would be given a chance at a peaceful life. Of course, we were hesitant at first, but then Dan points out the fact that we weren't hesitant to end ours. So we get transported back to life. We get resurrected, basically, and there's this sort of time lag. So when we resurrect, it's actually been 5 years since our death. So everyone has moved on with their lives. Our house is now occupied by someone else. Natsuki's house is just a whole, since it was an entire crime scene, no one wanted to buy it, so it's been left for ruins. We figured out that Sayuri was still living in the same house. We went to go see her. When we did see her, it looked like she lost it. She was convinced that we were hallucinations, but when she touched our cheeks, she figured out that we weren't actual hallucinations and that we were real. We told her everything that happened, and also there was also another condition to our resurrection. We can only tell 5 people about our actual true identities, so we're walking around with fake names and fake identities. We now have told Sayuri, which now we ask her where the other 2 are, Yuri and Monika. Yuri has probably gone off to some university, if I remember correctly, but there hasn't been much communication between those 2. Monika has moved to the main city, Tokyo, and has become some big person there. We don't know. So our next objective was to find Monika, and that's what we're doing. We went to Tokyo and figured out where we could find Monika. Monika is surprisingly not surprisingly, but turns out that Monika is a public defender. So that's all we know from her. We haven't seen her yet. We're on our way to her office after making an appointment, so we'll see where that ends off. If I remember correctly, this is our save, and this is where I started part 2 last time, but of course this thing didn't record properly. So hopefully it does record properly. I have no way of checking because I'm a single monitor, or single screen, not monitor, single screen, so hopefully it does record this. Otherwise I'm gonna have to be forced to record it again, which let's just hope we don't have to do that again. Alright, we decided to go at a reasonable time to be with her as soon as possible. I felt strange. I didn't feel like myself. It was as if in those 5 years that passed, which for me were a few hours, they had changed the essence of my person to an empty shell. A mere memory of what I once was, and whose change for me was absolutely arbitrary. Everything I remembered had changed. As I prepared to put my cell phone away, I saw myself reflected on the black screen, and my thought became certain. To the naked eye, nothing has changed in me, and to some extent that was true. But the real change was only perceptible to me. I'm the only human being aware of my existence as Bento, and in that dark mirror I saw a ragged man with dark circles under his eyes and a 3-day beard, lost look, and a ponytail whose only purpose was to hide my identity. To my right, Natsuki was wearing her pink outfit along with a brunette wig, which she pulls off. And to my left, Sayuri, as careless as was her wont. Okay, that was okay? Huh? Alrighty. Makima. Huh? Makima? Not Demon Slayer. Chainsaw Man? Question mark? I forgot the voice I had for this dude. Miss Shinohara? Yes? You may stop to see Miss Jiro, but for next time, please let us know that you're coming with companions. Oh, I'm so sorry. Pleased to meet you, gentlemen. Likewise. Okay. I remember some parts of part 2, so I'll try to give my realist emotion and reaction to this. So, yeah. As we entered her office, we were dumbfounded. A large desk centered the room, with various potted plants gracing the scene, while the light gently reflected on her hair backlit by the huge window on her back. A huge bookshelf occupied the right wall with various books about law and legislation. Why is it every time that I start reading one of these, my mouth starts getting dry? I don't like that. A computer was visible on the table, while the rest was cluttered with scattered papers and pens. The entrance wall filled its void with the painting red square and black square, a picture I never understood, nor did I intend to understand. When I looked into her face, I saw a face of a self-made, confident woman. She carried a pencil resting on her left ear and a ponytail that reached to her waist, until that moment invisible thanks to her desk. She looked like a person you'd see on the streets and think she must be very busy. Welcome to Maki Mall Law Firm. My name is Monika. How can I help you? Sayuri? The same! My leader! Saying that, she waved a hand in her forehead as if she were her Navy captain. A sudden emotion shone in Monika's eyes. Sayuri, come here. In less time than it takes to blink, both girls are melted in a warm embrace. When they let go, they begin to talk. Long time no see, Sayo. How is your career going? I dropped out a year ago. Oh, why is that? You know, 'cause... As she said this, she moved her finger, making a whirlwind around a temple of her head, depicting insanity or a psychological disorder. Fuck. I'm so sorry, Sayuri. I've been hurting for a long time too, but, well, I'm getting used to the pain of that day. And so used to it, look at you. You work in the law firm with your own office. If that's not getting used to pain, I don't know what is. Don't say it like that, I'm ashamed. Suddenly, she looked in our direction and changed her expression into a frown. Are you going to introduce me to your companions? I don't think it's necessary. You know them. Well, I can't say I've never seen them. Good evening, I'm Jiro Monika. Hello, my name is Ryoko, but you can call me Natsuki. Monika's face darkened for a second, but she managed to keep her composure. Pleased to meet you, Miss Natsuki. And you? I'm Hoi, but you can call me Bento. Monika looked at Sayuri in terror and began to babble. Sayuri? What is this? They've already told you. Sayuri gives a mischievous smile when Monika tried to find a logical explanation for what was happening. Sayuri, if this is a joke... Who said it was a joke, leader? Without a word, Natsuki took off her wig and I took off my costume and revealed our real identity. Monika was hyperventilating, and when half a minute had passed, she sat back in her chair and didn't even manage to stutter a sentence. And there it is, that freaking face. Why does it look like you absolutely want to kill me? Why? It's for your real estate. No, but for real, she looked like she wants to kill me. Abruptly, she began to laugh uncontrollably. It seemed as if her vocal cords were going to snap at any moment. When the chilling laughter stopped, she looked at us with an expression of absolute horror. No. This is too surreal. Yeah, she does that. Without warning and wanting to check if it was all a dream, she banged her head against the wall as hard as she could. She let out a cry of pain, falling to the ground. Her face conveyed pure horror and pain as a little blood trail began to flow from her forehead. No. You can't be real. I saw Bento die. We're as real as life itself, although that doesn't make much sense. Sayuri, would you explain to me what's going on? That's what I'm asking, boss. What have they done to you? Get out of here and don't come back. We did not notice Kazuo's presence, but it was more than obvious that he would show up sooner or later. Of course, dude, Monika for real went and did one of these. Kazuo quickly and aggressively chased us away, thinking that we have insulted Monika. Why the hell would we want to come and insult the public defendant? But oh well. Now we were in a real mess. We could no longer communicate with her except unofficially, which was almost impossible because we didn't know her personal phone number. Excuse me. And no, before I go any further into this thing, you know, I'm gonna save it. Here, we're gonna save it, and we're gonna override the save. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go here, load, and we're gonna do part 3. So this is where I'm ending. It's 5 a.m. and I still haven't slept a wink. And if I'm seeing it, yeah, okay, I know where we're ending now. Okay. Now we were in a room. Of course, I already read this. Now on the street, we looked at each other. Dead silence reigned for several minutes until Sayuri spoke. Guys, I think I've got an idea. Yep. The night air brushed my skin gently. It was a damp wind, and it felt, in a way, liberating. A soft rush of air reverberated in my ears and drove me to a feeling of pleasure. The streets were empty at this hour, and it was the perfect place and time to be alone with my thoughts. What did it matter now that I couldn't talk to Monika or Yuri? I had to be thankful to be alive with the love of my life and enjoy the limited ultimatum time Dan granted us. I sat down on the bench to rest. The sweet silence soothed some of my thoughts. When I felt the most absolute peace, an even sweeter voice echoed in my mind. What's up, Bento? Well, I don't know how to answer that. It's a very easy question. What's on your mind? I feel that what we are doing has no future. Why are we trying so hard to get the club together? Who can assure us that what Dan told us is real? What if it doesn't matter? Ever since Natsuki and I were resurrected, nothing makes sense to me. But I can't help wishing that all of this were true. A painful silence ensued in which I felt the tearing of Sayuri's soul, realizing the certainty of my doubt. My reasoning was logical, and she knew it. But she didn't want us to give up hope. Suddenly, she rested her hand on my shoulder and smiled. Bento, are you an atheist? Yes, I'm not. And if you were insensitive, if you are insensitive, it's insensitive, Bento. That's it. And if you are insensitive to faith, why do you have faith that this can end up well? Because even if it's minimal, you have hope that it will end up well and you can live for many years. Sometimes it is not necessary to have faith in God, but it is necessary to have faith in your own projects. And what better project will you have in your entire life than the chance of rising from your ashes like a phoenix? If this goes wrong, it will have been for nothing, but if it could go right, you would have missed the best opportunity of your life. And at the end of the day, we can keep you with us for a while longer, and so you have nothing to lose. Sayuri reached out her thumb to wipe away the tear flowing down my cheek, which glistened in the moonlight. Without warning, she put her arm around my shoulder and leaned her body on me. It was warm and comforting. Where the hell is Natsuki? The mix of sensations was addictive. The cold breeze mixed with the warm The cold breeze mixed with my warm embrace of my best friend. She was absolutely right. I have nothing to lose, so let's get on with it. We parted and she stood up. Guys, I was able to stop a cab. Let's go to the hotel. It's 11 p.m. and I'm getting too sleepy. We slowly left the place. I felt the last puff of air and slipped into the passenger seat. My mouth is getting drier by the minute. And I don't have anything to drink nearby, which absolutely sucks. Oh well. We arrived at the hotel and went up to our room. We did the same as yesterday, brushed our teeth and went to bed. As we opened the sheets, Natsuki spoke. Well, Sayuri, what is the idea you had for contacting Monika? I said Sayuri, not Siri. My Siri activated. You see, we'd better go after Yuri now. She is the only one of us who can enter Monika's office. Well, how do we find her? Easy. As soon as I searched her name on the internet, I found her picture. It turns out that she is now a writer, and is having some success. Among them, she is the bestseller in Jisatsu Aikoka. I guess now you understand why your story became so well known. And best of all, I looked up her pentagram. And she uploads a lot of photos reading in some kind of coffee shop / bookstore, and sometimes she says its name, Shiraizu Yokosata. And to top it off, I looked it up and she is currently in Tokyo, so we don't have to leave here to look for her. We only have to go there for a couple of days, and sooner or later we will see her. Sounds like a great plan to me. What do you think, Nat? I like it. We can start tomorrow. And where exactly is this coffee shop? It's near a street called Omoide Yokocho, a commercial area with street food stalls. Perfect. So we can eat there while we wait for her to show up. After saying that, we said our goodbyes and went to sleep. Went to sleep, right? Went to sleep? No, eater. Just straight off sleep, right? Yeah, straight off sleep. Thank you. It was 2 a.m. and we were at the entrance of the Shiraizu cafeteria disguised as usual. At one stall, Natsuki and I enjoyed a beer, while Sayuri mercilessly devoured half a dozen takoyakis with soy sauce. Do they not ask for whatchamacallit? Do they not ask for gosh darn for ID or something? Like, we've been dead, alright? Doesn't it means if we have any sort of passport, which I doubt, or any sort of identification, it would say our last age. It was a stall located right in front of the cafeteria that Yuri frequented, and we had been waiting for about 4 hours. Suddenly an idea came to mind. Hey girls, how about we wait inside? We can read a little and not draw as much attention to ourselves as we do here. Excuse me. Sounds good to me. You guys go in. I'll go when I finish this. When we entered, we saw a very rustic and cozy cafeteria bookstore, despite being kind of small. The walls were made of wood, the floor had a beautiful parquet, and several chairs and tables, as well as a counter where drinks are ordered. Natsuki and I went over there to order some. Everyone was talking quietly, so I don't know if it would be the ideal place for Sayuri. Welcome. What would you like to drink? Matcha tea, please. I'll have a black coffee. I'll bring it to you right away. Sit wherever you want. We approached a secluded table right next to the window. We walked over to the nearest bookshelf and pulled out a book. I did. It was a translation of The Sword of Destiny by Andrzej Sapkowski. Kowalski. Stats report. And I started reading it at a good pace. A few pages in, Natsuki interrupted my reading. Bento, check it out. She left a book on the table called The Magic of Simple Writing. Doesn't it remind you of something? Sure, to your poetry discussions at the club. You haven't looked at the author, have you? When I looked a little below the title, I could read that it was written by Nikimoto Yuri. It was a surprise to both of us, especially knowing that she was a deep advocate for complex writing. What a stubborn girl. I had to die for her to admit she was wrong. A teasing smile emanated from the lips of the beautiful girl who accompanied me. Her eyes looked like two gems. They shone with pinkish hue, and her fleshy cheeks enhanced the nobility of her gaze. But that face faded as she looked at the nearest table. I looked at the same direction and saw a blonde-haired girl with a cup of black coffee. It couldn't be anyone else. Her face was identical. And to top it off, she carried a book under her arm, and when she opened it on the table, I could read its cover, The Portrait of Markov. She is still reading that book. How many times have you read it, madam? I looked into Natsuki's eyes. I didn't know what to do or how to react. The plan was for Sayuri to talk to her, but she was not here, and I could not leave the place now. Natsuki, just with a drop of her gaze, said to me, go talk to her. I paid heed to that and slightly approached Yuri's table, so that she wouldn't think I was a stalker or something. I pretended to look for a book to the shelf next to her. From there, I extracted a book called The Clan of the Cave Bear. It was one of my favorite books, and it was the first subtle clue for Yuri to identify the guy who was looking for a book in front of her desk, since she knew I loved it. When I pulled it out, I approached her and spoke softly. Can I sit here? She answered with that characteristic soft, delicate, almost erotic voice. Why do we have to describe it as erotic? And complimented it with a broad smile on her face. Of course. I took the spare chair and sat down, looking calmly into her face. A few seconds passed before one of the two spoke. You're Nikimoto Yuri, right? That's right. And what's your name? Call me Hoi. I like your books very much. I'm so glad. It's always an honor to meet a fan in person. She bowed her torso in a symbol of cordial greeting, but gave a sly smile that made me feel strange. What book are you reading? Why ask me if you already know? That was the last answer I expected, and it really threw me off. What do you mean? You think I didn't see you looking at me a while ago? You and your friend? Do you think I didn't notice Sayuri waiting outside and you said goodbye, meaning the three of you were coming together? You think I didn't notice your voice and the tuft of pink hair sticking out of your friend's wig? Don't you think I didn't see your face when you realized I was Yuri? Because if you do, you couldn't be more wrong. I was hoping to surprise Yuri, but now I'm the one who's surprised. She had already recognized us in a few minutes just by looking at the details of her actions. I remembered that methodical Yuri to the point of exhaustion, but I did not expect at all this level of attention. A cold sweat began to break out on my forehead, making her theory come true. And lastly, do you think I didn't know you were alive? I've known for 5 years, waiting patiently, suffering every day, and gradually losing faith. But I knew my pain was not in vain. Natsuki approached, stunned by Yuri's intelligence. A few seconds passed, which seemed like years before Natsuki spoke. And you think I didn't notice that you made my point about simple writing? Instantly, tears of joy emerged from Natsuki's eyes, an act that inspired Yuri to stand up and embrace us. We melted into her for a long time. Her sobs would have been deafening if they had not been silenced by my chest, where she was clutching my shirt and staining it with tears. Where have you been all this time? We don't know that very well. Yuri, we don't know. You saved me. Why do you say that? Because... Forget it. I don't care about anything. Neither how you are here, nor where have you been, or how have you been able to come back. I just know you are back, and there is no person I can thank for that. Well, you can thank the God of your choice. After all, if he created you, he'll understand your pain. No. We humans are not made in the image or likeness of God. Rather, God is made in our image and likeness. I totally disagree, but that is just my religion, so everyone has their own opinion for stuff. It is an invention of the human mind so as not to feel alone and weak, because we need to have someone to blame for good and bad things. I only know that you've only returned from wherever you have been, and I don't need anyone to explain it to me. I just want to hug you again. Her wish was instantly granted just as Sayuri was walking through the door. She looked at us in confusion, but quickly understood the situation and joined the group hug without a word. Yay! 4 out of the 5 are here. Sayuri had leaned against the window frame, Natsuki against the wall, Yuri had sit on the edge of Sayuri's bed, and I had sat on the chair in the hotel room. It had been several hours since we returned to the hotel after the reunion with Yuri without hardly moving, so my legs were already starting to ache a little. I mean, you tried to contact Monika, but why couldn't you? The fact is that we could, but it didn't go very well. What's my role in the plan then? You are the only one who can enter her firm and talk to her. We have been banned from entering. Have you had any contact during the 5 years we've been away? Well, Monika and I were a couple for a while. Yeah, this was a shock to everyone. See? But it didn't work. It was very noticeable that we were just trying to hide the hole you had left with your supposed death. Wow. Well, we already have a plan for tomorrow. Now, we should get organized. Yuri, you're not staying at this hotel, but I can pay a little more and we can sleep 2 in each room. Natsuki and I in this room and Yuri and Sayuri in the other. We have no other option. There are no rooms for 4. I see it fine, but you don't have to pay me anything. I'm here on a business trip for a few months and protection pays for my stay. I tell them I'm changing to this hotel, and if I want to bring my guests to my room, no one can forbid me. This saves you the price of Sayuri's lodging. Well, that's great. Are we all in agreement? They all nodded. Well, we should help you to change rooms and go to sleep. Tomorrow is going to be a long day and it's almost 2:30 a.m. Okay. Alright. This scene. Yeah. We started to get these nightmares. Oh my gosh, I completely forgot about that. I'm not, that startled me, dog. I looked away while saying that, and I looked back to the screen, and I forgot that completely happened. I woke up from a nightmare. In it, I saw Natsuki's hanging corpse. I tried to fall asleep again. Okay. Even though I spent an hour and a half on that task, my attempt was a failure. Looked at the time on my cell phone and saw that it was 5:28 a.m. I decided to get out of bed and, without the others noticing, went for a night walk to clear my mind, but my idea was ruined when I realized it was raining heavily outside. Then decided to simply walk around the hotel and clear my thoughts. After putting on my pants and leaving my room, I began to roam the halls, wandering aimlessly. They were empty and silent but illuminated. There was not a soul in the entire hotel. Suddenly, an aroma of smoke reached me. I followed it until I reached the roof of the hotel. There were a couple of benches, some flower pots, and a water tank. But the most striking thing was to see a person smoking calmly while looking at the horizon covered by tall buildings with illuminating signs. With my poor eyesight, I deduced that it was a woman. As I approached, I knew from the look on her face that it was Yuri. Yep, Yuri smokes now. I positioned myself next to her and began to speak. You can't sleep either, am I right? You are a nightmare? Yeah. I was dreaming that Natsuki died by hanging again. What a coincidence. Have you dreamt it too? No, I haven't slept a wink, but... Remember when I told you this afternoon that you had saved my life? I nodded in agreement. I didn't mean it figuratively. You really saved me. Yuri, explain yourself. I don't understand what you mean. Without losing her composure, took a puff of a cigarette and expelled the smoke slowly through her nose. After a few seconds, she found her voice and started to speak. I was planning to kill myself this very Thursday, and I still don't rule that out. Yuri's hand began to shake, dropping the cigarette on the wet floor. But why? Because to live in this life, it wasn't worth existing. But you're doing well. You have money, success. That must help, right? There are a lot of things you don't know, Bento. I've been blaming myself for your death for 5 years. 5 years alone. 5 years without sleep. 5 years suffering your loss. But above all, your absence. 5 years of trying to evade my regrets with cheap excuses. 5 years in which I had realized that if I were to disappear, nothing would change in the world. I didn't know what to answer. Her words had left me speechless. It wasn't her fault, but she was totally convinced that it was, and that opinion was going to be very difficult to change. I put my arm around her shoulder and began to speak. Yuri, you gained nothing by blaming yourself. I wasn't going to bring us back, nor would you fix anything with your death. Excuse me? Says the one who committed suicide. What? Nothing. Anyway, get those ideas out of your head, because I won't allow you to think like that. I won't allow you to suffer anymore. Bento? Yep, she collapses. After hearing my words, she fell to her knees and looking at the ground, she began to cry inconsolably. She hugged my leg and looked me in the eyes. Her face broke my soul. I can see in her tearful eyes an inordinate suffering. There you go. Between sobs, she can barely speak. Bento, forgive me, please. I know you'll never be able to do that, but I need to get it off my chest. Yuri, what are you saying? I forgive you, but I don't know what you're apologizing. With my hands, I grabbed hers and lifted her off the ground. Her knees were soaked with rainwater, and she was wiping her tears with her forearm. They had reached her cheeks and slid down to die in her mouth along an ironically beautiful path. As she stood up, she looked into my eyes. They conveyed agony and relief, pain and peace. I could not suppress the urge to hug her. It was warm, comforting to me, but mostly to her. Her sobs were choking in my chest again, for she had buried her face in it. My chin rested gently on her head, and her arms had taken me completely. It's not that I wanted to free myself from the embrace. It's that I could barely breathe. Suddenly we heard a familiar voice. Guys, it's 5:45 in the morning. Please go to bed. My room is next door and I can't sleep with all this chatter. Oh, sorry, Sayori. We didn't mean to wake you up. Sayori was in her pajamas and with narrow eyes. She looked at us confused, but with her expression I deduced that she would prefer to spare us the questions so as not to waste time. Yuri and I went to our rooms and went back to bed. We're back at Makima Law Firm, I think. That is what you call those places with public defenders, right? Law firms? Yuri slyly looked at her cell phone and and read the messages Sayori sent to her. A bead of sweat fell from her forehead. She wasn't sure the plan was going to work. Sayori, I don't know. I think they know who I am. I'm afraid of getting caught. Like I said when I first recorded this, Yuri pulls off that blonde hair. Yuri pulls it off. I will say that. I know these are characters, fictional characters, but hey, you saw someone look like that in real life. Would you not be captivated? I'm sorry. I'm pretty sure this looks better than your purple hair, Yuri. Bro, my freaking mouth is so dry. I can't continue reading like this. I can't. I'm having to like swallow my own saliva just to rehydrate my own mouth. I wet myself. Okay. Oh well. Alright, that should help me a little bit. Hear me out. Yuri, it's impossible for them to know who you are. They've never seen you with us. Just trust the plan, okay? I trust the plan, but... Don't worry. Don't be paranoid. You'll see they won't find out. Yes, Sayori, but you have to keep in mind that I am a public figure. Maybe someone recognizes me? So what? It's normal for a celebrity to get into legal trouble. You don't think about it, okay? Sayori logged off, knowing that it was already time for entry, and she wasn't wrong. Immediately after, Yuri was called inside, but she slightly kept her cell phone with a camera sticking out of her pocket so we can watch by video call what was going on. When she entered the room, she was stunned to see Monika's large, spotless office. She confusedly looked from corner to corner, not confusing any particular detail. Finally, she sat down in one of the guest chairs behind the huge desk. Good afternoon. How can I help you? Well, I'm in trouble for a copyright of one of my own works. Perfect. You've come to the right place. Can you tell me your... Yuri? Is that you? Yes. Yuri let out a forced, nervous laugh. Monika responded with a strange smile. Oh my god. I haven't heard from you in years. What a beautiful outfit. It looks amazing on you. I would have loved to see you like this when we were together. The glasses look great on you. But you're not here for that, are you? What? I don't know what you mean. Yuri gasped. For a moment. She thought her performance didn't work, but she was wrong. Monika knew perfectly how nervous and shy Yuri was, so she didn't suspect her. Nothing. A bad experience I had a few days ago. Well, going back to the lawsuit, what is your reason for starting a copyright claim? Well, an author plagiarized an excerpt from one of my books, and he refuses to change that, so I've decided to sue him. Oh right, I forgot you're a writer. If you have money for complaints, I imagine things are going very well for you. Monika smiled mischievously and kept talking. Well, a copyright claim takes a few days to process, if it's accepted at all. Could you come by on Wednesday? It should be ready by then. Okay, but I like to clear things up today. The problem is, I have a book signing session in an hour, and I can't stay long. Do you think we can meet tonight at a cafe? I know, and work out all the details? It's very close to here. Monika was a little startled, since it was the first time Yuri had invited her to a meet in a particular place. Sure. I have no problem. What time is good for you? Whenever you prefer. I don't mind. At least in 2 hours, though, for the signing and stuff. The place is Shiraizu Yokosata. How about 4:30? I'm fine with that. I'll see you around. Great. Bye, and best of luck with the signing, cutie. Really? We're getting flirting? Really, Monika, we're flirting now? Or we're gonna forget that you just banged your head on the freaking wall not too long ago? Yuri blushed when she heard those words. Even though they were no longer a couple, she still blushed when Monika treated her like that. So, how did it go? We'll meet at Shiraizu Yukosata at 4:30 p.m. So the plan was a success. Yeah, in the afternoon, yet it looks like it's freaking 8 o'clock in the night. Did the sign... I can't speak. Did the book signing bullshit work? Totally. Yuri smiled proudly. It was the first time in years that she felt useful to others. Well, there are still 2.25 hours left, so we can rest for a while. I agree. I'm going to my room. I have to paint my nails. I'm leaving too. I'll be listening to music. Good. I'm staying here. I want to get some sleep. I hardly slept these last few days. I clearly saw Sayuri clench her fist and frown angrily as she left the room. It was pretty obvious why she was doing it. She had witnessed some very uncomfortable moments and must still be a little angry with us. What, from the ear moments? As I tried to relax on my bed, Natsuki lay down next to me and rested her head on the side of my chest. When I was almost asleep, she climbed on top of me and kissed me. Madam, I'm trying to go to sleep. They just can't see. They can't see you. They can't see a man freaking enjoying life, laying down, almost going to sleep, because then we get interrupted. I don't know why I'm talking like this. Nor am I saying this as if I have actual experience with this. We're almost there, honey. But why do we unveil ourselves to them, knowing they are not as useful to us as, for example, the police? Because they are trustworthy, and we know they will keep the secrets. Besides, they also trust us because they love us. They loved us, and they also want to believe that this is all real. But until we catch our killer, we can't fully prove it. Yeah. By the way, if our killer is my dad, and Dan told us we should kill him, it means he's still alive. I know. And he will pay dearly for what he did to us. Natsuki shed a tear on the pillow and kissed me again on the mouth. Our tongues moved to the sound of our excitement, and after a few seconds, we separated slightly to catch our breath and continue. A few seconds later, she began to moan slightly. Madam, I'm just trying to go to sleep. She was looking at me with a lustful expression, and I could see the subtle silhouette of my own body reflected in her dilated pupils. I was just trying to catch some Z's, madam. Natsuki had clung to my right arm, and it didn't look like she was going to let go. Her feet followed in a strange rhythm. What's up, doc? Rhythm. Okay. I'm gonna catch me a rabbit. To a strange rhythm, since her back was twisted from leaning on my side as she walked. Yuri glued her gaze to her phone as she took gentle puffs on her cigarette. Sayuri looked up to the sky as she walked, thinking about God knows what. Her crystallized pupils trembled at the sight of the sky, barely perceptible due to the bright evening sunshine. It's not evening, it's afternoon. After 6, that's evening. We arrived at the cafeteria where Yuri had arranged to meet Monika. We decided to go in and have a drink since no one would recognize us in our costumes. Sayuri decided to stay outside so she could stop at a street food stall. Suddenly, a woman entered the place. She was beautiful and dazzling. She walked over to Yuri's side and sat down with her. Good morning, Yuri. Morning? I'm so confused. What are the times? I'm so confused. What are the times? We were given 4 p.m. but it was dark outside. We walk out. It said it was the evening. And now Monika's talking and so is Yuri. And they're saying it's morning. What? I'm so confused. Good morning, Monika. How was your day? When she looked in her direction, silence abruptly fell. After a few moments, she spoke. No. You too, with Natsuki and Bento's little joke? They're dead. Stop trying to make me believe it. But it's not a joke, Monika. She stood up in anger and banged on the table. It can't be real, Yuri. It's physically impossible for 2 people who died 5 years ago to be resurrected overnight. If you would at least tell me that their bodies were never found, but they were dead. I saw Natsuki's corpse in her coffin. I saw them close the lid on her coffin and bury it. I saw Bento die. I saw him fall into the river from a height of 70 meters. They found his body a week later on the shore of a river beach. Ah, so that's how my body was found. I don't even want to know how I looked like. I probably had a whole bunch of stuff on me. Face probably sunk in. As she uttered that sentence, her eyes flooded with tears. To see her crying in despair because Yuri told her it's not a joke was indescribably painful. I saw in Yuri's face the desire to hold back her crying. Monika rested her head on her arms on the table, and after a few seconds, she looked up at Yuri and managed to speak between sobs. Tell me once and for all that it's a joke, please. I can't take it anymore. I would gladly tell you it is, but they're real. With her index finger, Yuri invited us to sit around the table. Natsuki and I got up from ours and sat at hers. Monika, I know it's hard for you, but we can explain everything that happened. Tell me, I won't believe it. Well, you are not wrong when you said we were dead, because we were. Heaven and hell exist, but we didn't go to either. Where we did go was to a place called Limbo, and there we were met separately by an entity named Dan. He explained that he was giving us a second chance to live on Earth. Don't look at me at that face, please. I mean it. Imagine you're a supreme, I don't know, entity or something. You know? Something that, you know, let's just say like a demigod or something. I don't know what you want to call them, but celestial beings, alright? Imagine being a celestial being and your name is Dan. Dan. Let's just let that sink for a moment. Like, we couldn't give him like something, I don't know, that made him feel like he was this actual godly being here. Something probably with more syllables? Dan. Hours passed. Words followed one by after another. Monika finally accepted our story and believed us. We were still in Shiraizu, and we were out of drinks. I'm going to order another beer. Wait, I'll come with you. I want one too. How are we able to order beer? How are we able to order it? We went to the counter to order. Once there, we were greeted by a man as tall as a castle. His short hair stood out for being so blonde. His face conveyed impassivity and aggressiveness at the same time. He brought us our beers. We took them to the table and continued chatting. We are back. So, where are you living now? Well, we are sleeping at a hotel now. We don't have a house here. The four of us. Although, Yuri, don't you have a house here? I already told you I don't. Production pays for the hotels, and if I want to change, they won't complain. Lucky you. I do have an apartment, but I can accompany you to the hotel. I have no problem. It's already late, and if we have to catch your alleged murderer, we'll have to meet tomorrow and plan it. Well, catch is a euphemism. We have to kill him. Hey. You didn't tell me that. And you don't need to be a lawyer to know that it's murder and that you'd go to jail for it. We know that, but we don't have much of a choice. It's the soul of a wicked man for the souls of two innocents, and you don't need to be a lawyer to know that's justice and karma. Monika thought for a while. Alright, I'll help you. I'm not exactly an angel to talk about the law right now either. But if we want to do it, we do it right. We need seamless planning. And I know just the person for this. Well, who can help us then? Follow me. Monika got up from the table without explanation. She walked out the door saying goodbye to the waiter. We followed her. Natsuki looked back, and I think I know why. We had left without paying, and the waiter didn't say anything to us. Monika walked lightly, and we accompanied her, but we were surprised when she stopped in front of the cafe's garage. She tapped twice on the door play with the back of her hand, and a few seconds later, a bald, stocky man opened the garage door for us. As we entered, he separated his glasses in two parts and hung them around his neck. He stared at us suspiciously. Suddenly he spoke. Who are they? Don't worry. He came with me. They are trustworthy. That seemed to calm the man down, but he still looked at us suspiciously. We looked inside and saw a small warehouse, boxes of coffee beans, pallets of soft drinks, boxes of sugars, bags of herbal tea. Since nobody else would be there, we took off our disguises with comfort. We went through a door and found another storeroom, which led to the basement stairs, which led to another storeroom. But this was not so mundane. All the wooden boxes there were locked. We couldn't see the contacts, but no explanations was needed for me. They were clearly gun crates, or if they weren't, they looked like it. Before I can formulate a word, Monika spoke. One of my closest contacts belongs to the Yakuza, so they do me favors. Natsuki had turned away from her out of fear. Yuri and I were sweating. The only one who didn't seem surprised was Sayuri. She remained motionless and stared intently at Monika. What is the Yakuza? For God's sakes, Sayuri, do you live on this planet? What are you talking about? It's the Mafia, Sayuri. Sayuri's face changed from indifference to fear. But how do you know? But how are you here knowing you're a lawyer? A proper lawyer needs sources of information everywhere. I need contacts in the law, in the police, and in the Yakuza. And how did you get here? When I was living in the slums a year ago, I had to act as a lawyer on a case. My client was a member and we won the trial. He offered me to accompany him and he took me to one of the cafe houses. Took me to one of the safe houses. They explained that we could help each other. I accepted, not knowing really what to expect. And thanks to the mutual help we give each other, they help with confidential information for lawsuits and help and me to them in the cases that had to where we ended up being partners. And when I was hired at Makima, they accompanied me and showed me that the safe house here was this cafe, and whenever they needed or I needed help, we get in touch. That's it. I don't commit illegalities. Sorry, I suck at reading. But I just help and they help me. We were stunned by Monika's explanation, how life turns. You start creating a literature club and end up with the Mafia. But Monika, how is the Mafia supposed to help us? You need to find your alleged killer, don't you? The Yakuza can find anyone in the whole country. Well, but I don't think it's necessary to go to this extreme either. It shouldn't be too hard to find them. With their help, it will take less time. At least, do you know his name? I looked at Natsuki with conviction. She looked back at me, sighed, and spoke. His name is Natsuki Kento, and he's my father. I don't know if this was fate or something, or I don't know, coincidental, but my name's Bento. Natsuki's father's name is Kento. We're like a letter off difference. I'm a Natsuki stan, so. Once, accompanying Bento home, I saw him nervous as he passed by your door, and I didn't know what was wrong with him. Then you ran away from home, and when you left, Bento never told us what happened. He didn't talk for weeks, he wouldn't leave the house, and the last time the four of us were together was after your funeral. Bento did it. Jeez, thanks, Monika. Before she could finish her sentence, I interrupted her. No, Monika, if someone has to tell her that, it's me. Natsuki looked scared, and I looked into her eyes. Her pupils were shining, and for a few moments, I couldn't speak. Finally, I could. Natsuki, I didn't attend your funeral. A painful silence ensued. Tears began to flow down her cheek. I didn't expect her to react like this at all. I went from incomprehension to the greatest guilt of my life, and the feelings were terrible. Suddenly, Natsuki pushed me and ran out the place. I tried to follow her, but before I could run, Yuri grabbed my shoulder. I looked at her, and she just shook her head. Don't do it. Let her cry. She needs to get it off her chest. You don't say. Ah, we're back up here. That crying reminded me of the first time we slept together after returning from the afterlife. I completely forgot that she was suffering from all of this too. The smell of the rain took me back to 5 years ago. To the day I brought her the jacket and scarf she loved so much. To the day of the snowball fight. It was a memory as pleasant as it was painful, knowing that it was quite possible we could never be as happy as we once were. Without warning, I felt a hand on my back. It seemed that the hotel rooftop was no longer my secret corner. Take it easy. She'll get over it. It hurts me to think that I have hurt Natsuki more than I have spared her. Don't say that, because you know it's a lie. I've never seen Natsuki as happy as the time you spent together. We are good by nature, especially with the ones we love, and if someone hurts the ones we love, we are capable of shaking heaven and earth to avenge that pain. So, without realizing, we are causing more damage than we repair. Does that make us bad people? No. We are machines, and machines will always be imperfect machines. Don't blame yourself for her pain. You didn't cause it, and you can't fix it. Natsuki has to defeat her inner demons and overcome life's bombs, so you can only support her. Trust me. I have experienced it at first hand. Thank you very much, Sayori. Why, Bento? What's wrong? Why do I feel bad? I should be happy. Whenever you are, I am, but now I can't help but feel sad. I've been deluding myself for so many years, thinking I could be with you. But no matter what I do, I can't get close to you. Someone always gets in the way and leaves me at the verge of achieving it, or you simply die. A subtle tear welled up in Sayuri's eyes. She wiped it away with her forearm, and I replied, You once said you didn't really care that I didn't love you, as long as I would always be with you. Well, we both know that only one of those two sentences were true. I will always be here for you, in good times and bad. And just think, if things don't go well, I digress. I'm with you now, and you know that even if I'm not, I'm happy. So you can live or die in peace. But for now, live. Live, Sayuri. Yep, and this is where the changes start happening with everyone. Without warning, she gave me a kiss on the cheek. She ran off to her room, shedding tears as she went. I didn't know if she really understood what I said, so I didn't know how to react. Now Sayuri and Natsuki are crying in their rooms, and I can only comfort one at a time. I don't think I can comfort either of them, though. I decided to try to comfort Natsuki first. I approached the door of Yuri and Sayuri's room where Natsuki was. Yuri told me that she would keep her company and try to reassure her. I knocked on the door softly and heard Yuri's voice. Come in. Entering, I found myself in a horrible predicament. Whatever I choose, one of them would think I hated her or something. As I approached, I saw Yuri sitting on the edge of the bed where Natsuki was laying facing the wall. I sat down on the other bed, and after a few seconds of silence, I began to speak. I'm sorry, Natsuki. I was a jerk, and if you can't forgive me, I'll understand. We fell in another prolonged silence. Finally, Natsuki answered between sobs. Bento, what hurts me is not that you didn't go to my funeral. What hurts me is that you kept it from me. Natsuki, I wasn't in any condition to go anywhere, and going to your funeral would have only caused me to commit suicide a couple of days earlier out of grief. Being at your funeral would have been an image I could never get out of my head. Seeing your body dead because I wasn't fast enough would have been the equivalent of having a rusty spear thrust through my back. Even if I hadn't killed myself, I would have lived a horrible life. Even to this day, the image of your body hanging from your bedroom ceiling with your favorite manga on the floor broken is something that will echo in my mind forever. It makes me unable to sleep, and when I do, I'm constantly awakened by nightmares. You committed suicide because of me, and Sayuri was about to, but she was lucky, because I arrived in time, but with you, I didn't have that fortune. Natsuki didn't answer. Yuri placed her hand on the pink head's waist and added to my explanation. Natsuki, there are things you didn't live. Sayuri, Monika, and I visited Bento right after your funeral, and the person we met was not Bento. He was just an empty shell. A man with no feelings, no color, with a monotonous voice, sitting on his bed for hours staring at a desk where a copy of Parfait Girls was. He stared at it day and night because it was the only thing he had left of you. The only glimpse of your existence in this world was a manga, and thousands of people had copies of like this. The only memory Bento had was something that many people have. It was so sad to think about it. I don't know how he endured so many days without leaving. Please, leave me alone. Yuri and I left the room without saying anything. We were only going to make the situation worse. On the way out, we found Monika writing. Yup, we know who that shadow is. Wait a minute. What was that shadow? It doesn't belong to either of us. Well, I'm going to the smoking room. See you tomorrow. See you tomorrow. When they left, I decided to follow the shadow. Walking in a brisk pace, I reached the end of the corridor and again saw the shadow cross the corner. I quickened my steps and finally ended up coming to a half-open door. It was obvious that whatever it was, it had gone that way. As I walked through, I saw some emergency stairs. I heard footsteps going up and I followed them. It was a flight of stairs, like those in apartment blocks. When I reached the top, I saw another door leading to the outside. When I opened it, I saw that it had taken me to the roof of the hotel. I looked around. There was almost nothing but a hut where they must have kept a generator or something, smoke extractors, vents. But one human silhouette stood out. It was standing on the edge of the ground, leaning over the abyss. From afar, in a dim moonlight, I could see a few drops of water beginning to fall. This is just perfect. Suddenly, a heavy rain began to fall, making it impossible for me to see clearly who it was. I tried to speak, but the noise of the rain I could hardly hear. I approached to find out who for sure. Sayuri? What are you doing here? There was no answer. Come down from there. You might fall. Suddenly, she turned around and answered me. She was shouting in an incredibly tense way. Yep, I remember this. This is what I want, Bento. What are you saying, Sayuri? Don't start with that again. Get down from here and come with us. No, Bento. This is what I want. I approached slowly so she wouldn't get scared. I had to be very careful. It was an extremely delicate situation, and the slightest slip of my words could end very badly. Sayuri, don't you even think about approaching me. If you come a centimeter close, I'll jump. Okay, calm down. I'm not moving. Sayuri, don't do this. You don't have to jump. Oh, is that so? You committed suicide because of me, and Sayuri was about to. Of course I was about to. And if it wasn't for my bad luck that you came along, I would have. You've done me a lot of harm, Bento. But even more, I've harmed to myself. 10 years, Bento. 10 fucking years. 10 fucking years thinking that you hated me, that everyone hated me, and I didn't understand why you wanted to be with someone like me. I am a despicable human being, and death is the only way for me out of my pain. 10 years, Bento. Do you know what it's like to be depressed for 10 years thinking that you're just a burden to the people who know you? Do you know what it's like to feel that your existence has no value in the world, and that if you hadn't been born, nothing would have changed? Every word that came out of her mouth broke my soul. They were like sharp daggers piercing my flesh. I could barely respond. Sayuri, you were never a burden to me or anyone else. If it weren't for your enthusiasm, I would still be a very lonely person who never leaves home. Without your friendship, I wouldn't be able to trust anyone. Without your crazy head, I wouldn't have joined the literature club. Without you, I wouldn't have met Natsuki or Yuri or Monika, and I can never thank you enough for everything you've done. You're lying. I'm nothing but a burden, and if I wasn't around, you'd all be happier. If my shitty life is based on making others happy, because I'm not capable of being happy myself, then my existence prevents them. But my existence prevents them from being happy. What's the point of existing? I just approached her and I skipped. I just approached her and gently extended my hand. Sayuri, let's get out of here. You don't deserve this mental torture. Yes, I do. What I don't deserve is your friendship. I love you. Suddenly, Sayuri let go of my hand and threw herself back into the void. What I'm thinking is, we extended our hand out and she grabbed it. Did we not have a grip on her arm, on her hand or something? That she let go and she fell immediately? Did we not have a grip on her hand? I could only watch as her body fell towards its end. Unstoppable tears welled up in my eyes and fell until they reached Sayuri. On my knees in the rain, I screamed until the cloudy sky above me split. Okay. The hell's going on? Mental torture? What's going on? I can remember some of the stuff happening, but some of the stuff I don't remember. The music. Okay. Someone pulled up with a domain expansion. Okay. Welcome back, Mr. Bento. I looked around again and everything had changed instantly. From a white, overwhelming emptiness to a strange structure. A circular floor was made of some kind of steel, and surrounding us, the walls of that capsule that were made of glass. I looked outward for a moment and saw clouds passing downwards as if I were ascending at great speed. It was like some kind of elevator. I looked in the direction of the voice and saw Dan again. Dan? Where are we? Well, Limbo. Don't you remember this place? Yeah, but I didn't remember it like this. Why am I here? Well, technically not am I, but are we? Me and who else? That doesn't matter right now, actually. I only brought you here because I wanted to appear on Earth at your side, but some people were climbing on that roof. We can talk quietly here. The thing is, I called you to remind you of something. I don't know if you've forgotten it, but just in case, I'll refresh your memory. I told you that you only had 3 chances to catch your killer. In case you didn't notice, that implies that you have to be very sure that the person you are going to kill is the guilty one. You had 3 chances and you just wasted one. This was so confusing. What? We haven't killed anyone. I disagree. Sayuri's death was murder. Sometimes humans are amazing. They deceive even your loved ones in order to betray them and come out on top. Don't mention No, Mr. Bento, Sayuri did not commit suicide. She clearly didn't, and you don't need to fool yourself because you're not fooling me. How else would you have come up with such a well-laid plan? You knew about Sayuri's depression and suspected that she was your tormentor, so you took advantage of it to make her feel even worse. You have been ignoring her since you returned to Earth. You put Sayuri aside, focusing on Natsuki. And it all led to what she thought was a suicide, but it was actually a murder. You didn't kill her, but you caused her death. And for all of this, I applaud you. Even I couldn't have thought of a better way to finish off your prey. But, as I said a moment ago, you were wrong. So you only have 2 chances left. I fell slumped to the ground, impacting the cold steel with my knees. My tears were strange. It wasn't water, it was blood. On top of that, I had become mute. My ineptitude and lack of emotional intelligence had brought about the death of my best friend, and a plan so brilliantly executed it seemed deliberate. But I hadn't meant to. How could I have wanted to end Sayuri's life when I hadn't even considered that she might have caused her death? Between sobs, I managed to retort his words. I didn't mean to. I didn't want to kill her. Now she's dead because of me. Dan was still standing with his hands behind his back. He seemed unaffected by my situation. He kept his composure and had blamed me without batting an eyelid. He calmly wiped the blood from my face with a white handkerchief. Dan, tell me, Mr. Bento. Trust me. I didn't want this. I trust you. People who cry blood in limbo are shedding sincere tears. He put away his handkerchief and approached the cabin's stained glass windows. He looked outside and spoke again. Don't worry. This death won't count in the scoreboard, let's say. And since you are here, I have to inform you of something. Suddenly, the elevator stopped going up. He seemed to have reached our destination. The glass doors opened, and lifting my eyes to the floor, I looked around. We are looking out into the ocean from that one scene in AOT, or we are in Tanjiro's mind from Mugen Train. What I saw was unimaginable. It was a vast ocean. There was absolutely nothing to be seen on the horizon, just a huge mass of water without any waves or ocean currents. It was so clear, the water looked like a mirror. Dan looked at me and with a nod of his head invited me out to the cockpit. I complied. He was the first to step into the water. He walked as if it were solid ground, and I did the same. He began a wandering path with no apparent destination. I followed in his steps. I hadn't intended to bring you here, but it was actually a good idea. You see, Bento, as you know, every action has an opposite and equivalent reaction. If you push a pendulum in one direction, sooner or later it will return flowing the same path it took, but reverted. Well, you have started that pendulum on its way back. Before he finished his sentence, during one of my blinks, a door materialized in front of me. A silent voice? Is that what that anime's movie's called? The one with the door? I think it's called Suzume. Japanese. It didn't seem to lead anywhere. It was just a door in the middle of a vast ocean. But now, the pendulum has slowed down and it's beginning to turn. It is time for you to face what you fear most. When you walk through this door, we won't see each other again for some time. Please, come in. I obeyed his request. When I opened the door, I saw a hallway inside. From the outside, nothing was visible, but inside the hallway was hidden. I went into it. I walked along the corridor for a while and nothing changed. At the end, a door was glaring, but no matter how much I walked, I could never reach it. Suddenly, I saw something hanging on the left wall. I ran up to it, and when I got there, I realized that it was a small square mirror. I couldn't even see myself because of the damage it had. Nothing seemed to change, so I decided to sit leaning against the wall, facing the mirror and wait. I waited, and waited, and waited. Nothing was happening. A minute passed and I was getting bored. I decided to stand up and look in the mirror again. I was stunned to see my reflection. It was me. But my mind was telling me that it wasn't me. I was beginning to feel a deep fear, but I was unable to look away from my reflection. When I gathered enough courage, I ran forward without looking back. The hallway seemed to generate as I walked down it, and it didn't change at all. Beads of sweat stained my forehead, and I could only direct my eyes to my impatient feet. I reached the end. It was a wall like all the others, but it prevented me from continuing. When I turned around to go back, there was no corridor, just another wall. I was locked in a small black room. The walls that enclosed me began to lighten as if they were dissolving. Guessing we're back. Yep. Oh, is that so? Is that so? You committed suicide because of me. And Sayuri was about to. Of course I was about to. And if it wasn't for my bad luck that you came along, I would've. You've done me a lot of harm, Bento. But even more, I've harmed to myself. 10 years, Bento. 10 fucking years. 10 fucking years thinking that you hated me. That everyone hated me and I didn't understand why you wanted to be with someone like me. I am a despicable human being and death is the only way out of my pain. 10 years, Bento. Do you know what it's like to be depressed for 10 years thinking that you're just a burden to the people who know you? Do you know what it's like to feel that your existence has no value in the world and that if you hadn't been born, nothing would have changed? What am I doing here? Am I back? Sayuri is there on top of the tank. I'm standing a few feet away from her. Both of us wet from the rain, but because of the tears, she was more soaked than I was. I felt a strong dizziness and an unbearable headache. I didn't know what to answer. I was so shocked that I hadn't heard what she said at all. But I'm not going to waste a second chance. Sayuri, Please think carefully about what you're going to do. No, Bento. I've never thought about anything this much. I don't want to live anymore. Natsuki hates me for getting in the way of your relationship. Yuri hates me for not being by her side after what she did to me. Monika hates me for forcing her to carry out this plan. And you hate me for everything. I bet you've hated me for years, and I've put my head on fire that you've hated me since the very moment you met me. You were a kid playing in a sandbox quietly, and I came up to you just to annoy you. Maybe that's why I've been depressed for years, because I knew you hated me from the very beginning. Sayuri, you have not been dead. You can't come back to think that in the afterlife you might never see your loved ones again. You have not regretted your decision because it's a deceitful one. Suicide and murder out of spite is liberating at first, a nirvana status that can never be achieved in a lasting way. It is only momentarily. As soon as you realize what you have done, you will regret it, and the burden of a poorly made decision will be with you for eternity. It's a very high price for such a fleeting reward. Sayuri was shocked. She lowered her head looking at the ground, and after a few seconds she turned her gaze towards the sky and continued speaking. Bento? Tell me. What's it like? The afterlife. Horrible. Bullshit. It is the most beautiful place I've ever seen in my short life. A place of peace where you see things you won't ever witness by any human in the present, past, or future. It is a beautiful world, but I have to lie so my best friend doesn't do something stupid. So be it. And how do I know you're not fooling me? Sayuri, look me in the eyes. Have I ever lied to you? Yes. When you told me that you'll always be my friend. Why did you tell me that if you hate me? For a moment I thought it was going to get better, but it didn't. But I don't blame you. I'm so stupid that I believe the most obvious lies just because I'm hoping they're true. No, Sayuri, I never lied to you. We have never lied to you. Everything we have told you since we met you is as true as the sun shines every day. Life is a roller coaster, and it's not worth losing everything you've tried just to believe that in the afterlife you'll find happiness. Please, Sayuri, believe me. You are my best friend, and I wouldn't get over you leaving because of me. Please, don't do it. Sayuri didn't answer. She just got down from the tank and approached me. She came closer little by little and finally wrapped her arms around me as she cried, even more than a moment ago. Her sobs mixed with the noise of the rain and caused them to be more audible. Please, forgive me. I knelt down too and hugged her with all my might. She was crying, but the wetness of her tears did not stand out on my shirt. We heard a noise. It was footsteps. Suddenly, the rooftop door burst open and Natsuki, Yuri, and Monika emerged. Natsuki came running towards us and hugged Sayuri. Yuri was speechless and just stared at the scene in shock. Monika, very worried, approached Sayuri and started asking her 1,000 questions about what had happened. Natsuki and I got her out of there and took her to her room. Now more relaxed, I tried to talk to her. Sayuri, what were you going to do? Something really stupid. Well, Sayuri, it's all over. You don't have to worry anymore. Now, just rest and stop thinking about it, okay? Okay. Girls, you can go if you want. And Natsuki, go to the room. I'll be there in a moment, okay? I want to talk to her alone. They obeyed and left the room. When we were alone, she spoke before I could even gather my thoughts. This is not what she said it would be. Who told you what? It doesn't matter. Yes, it does. I must know exactly what she told you. I'm not going to tell you, Bento. It's private and I don't want you to know. I just spoke without thinking, and that's it. She's lying. I've known her for as long as I can remember, and whenever she tries to evade a question, by all means, even if she knows they're blatant, she's hiding something very important. I don't want to add fuel to the fire, so I'll leave the subject there and find it out on my own. Well, I'll leave you here. Rest, and tomorrow we'll take you to a doctor. I want to verify that everything is all right with your mind. Everything is better than ever, Bento. I have never been so sure of anything. That's not what I mean. Neither do I. Then what are you so sure about? How do I even know that you're okay? Bento, maybe you know perfectly when I'm lying, but I also know you since I was a child, and I know that for you, hiding your true feelings is impossible. I'm not quite sure what she was referring to. I simply left the room confused, trying to find the meaning of that sentence. When I came out, I saw Monika leaving my room. It looked like she had come in here for a moment to talk to Natsuki, who was sitting at the edge of her bed. I looked at her, and she looked back at me. Suddenly, she lowered it, and I didn't understand why. She frowned and began to speak. Bento, we already know where my father is. And how did you find him? Monika told me that her henchman found out that he works as a teacher in the Tokyo Senior High School. He is a philosophy teacher in the 3rd year of high school. As we are no longer in Osaka and the file did not specify it, we don't know what he looks like or where he lives. So, what's the plan to reach him? Well, I have no idea. The first thing that comes to mind is to infiltrate there since they're going to start a new course. But it would be too risky. It would be better to follow him home. The problem is that in 5 years he could have changed, so I think it's better to look for him by infiltrating a course where he is a teacher. That's a good idea. Honey, we're almost there. We're going to be able to live a life of peace for the rest of our lives. Together. And everyone will know that the suicide lovers didn't die, and that love brought them back to life. I know that, but what if our life is short? What if we make it, but we are destined to live a short life? What good would all of this have done? The answer is very simple. What was the point of Japan's efforts in World War II if we ended up surrendering? Well, it might not have been a definitive function, but it made us look like warriors, like fighters who would give everything for what they want, and it caused the country's economic boom. The same rule applies here. It wouldn't be of use anyway, but when we are gone, everyone will know that for love, they could do literally anything, even to leave behind their own death and battle for survival. We would go down in history, and we would motivate hundreds of people to go on with their lives and not give up. Is that not enough? I could feel the glow of her sincere, warm, and hopeful smile. She seemed to have completely forgotten that she was angry with me. Her pink eyes sparkled in the faint moonlight that streamed through the window across the street, creating a light and shadow set on her face worthy of the most talented film director. In front of me was the most beautiful woman I have ever seen in my life, and that woman looked at me with curious eyes, searching for an answer, and soon realized that sometimes words are not necessary to convey a beautiful message. Then she just let her head fall on my right shoulder, contemplating the raindrops that flowed carelessly on the glass. My phone rang. Without peeling my face from my pillow, I reached out my arm to answer the call. With my eyes half closed and my fingers numb, I managed to activate the speakerphone and answered. My voice was hoarse and was barely understandable. Hello? Bento, it's 11 a.m. Don't you think it's time for breakfast? On our way. I hang up the call. I put my cell phone down on the nightstand. With one effort, I gently whipped Natsuki off the shoulder to wake her up. I'm already awake. Don't worry. I was waiting for you to wake up too. Natsuki cleared the sheets and got out of bed. As she searched for her clothes in her drawer in the closet, I could see her beautiful body, just as the Lord had brought her into the world. Her skin was slightly bristly due to the cold and gave a sublime contrast to how soft it actually was. Already dressed, she looked at me. She saw me blushing and immobile. A mischievous smile came from her mouth instinctively. Are you going to get up or not? Yeah. When we went down to the dining room, we found Yuri, Monika, and Sayuri finishing their breakfast quietly. It was about time. Well, I'm going to tell you about the plan I came up with last night. You see, the plan to infiltrate the high school was virtually impossible since the registration deadlines ended a month ago. But I came up with something. My cousin Yuzu goes to the senior high school, and he can help us in a big way. 2 years before classes open, Yuri is going to infiltrate the institute. Me? Yes, you. Well, I'll go on. The thing is, you'll go disguised as a cleaning staff, accompanied with Bento in case something happens, and when you make sure the philosophy department is empty, you'll sneak in there. Once inside, you'll have to find a list of students with each class, and when you find the one of the third course, we'll take a picture of it. Once done, you will have to get out of there. Once you arrive, I will work all the next day on making an exact replica of that list, and adding the names of Sayuri, Natsuki, and Bento, who will be the new students. On the first day of school, two of the three will go to the philosophy department looking for mentoring, which won't exist. The only function of that is for one of you to distract the teacher inside at the moment, and the other one will be in charge of changing the copies to the original list to the fake list that I will give you. Once this is done, you will leave and no one will suspect that there were 3 students that are not on the list. Once in class, you will pretend all morning until you get to philosophy class. There, watch Kento's face, watch him to his car slightly when his day is over, and then take a picture of his car and license plate to keep track of him. Once we have that, it's a matter of following him in a rental car to his house. Once we know where he lives, we can do our jobs. We couldn't believe our ears. It was a perfect plan. Wait a minute. Wouldn't it be better to wait until after school to follow the person who looks most like Kento? It would save us from doing everything else, and we wouldn't have to enter the institute. Besides that, it would be the most logical thing to do if our goal wasn't to murder someone. Think for a moment of what would happen if we followed the wrong person and killed someone innocent because we wanted to do things quickly. It's been a long time since you last saw him. He may have changed enough that we could confuse him. That we would get him confused. Besides, we haven't been able to find any current photos of him, so it would be more risky to just look at his appearance. It's amazing how well prepared how well planned she has it all. It's hard to believe she's done it in such a short time. But what if, for example, they realize that I'm not part of the cleaning crew? No problem. Bento will go with you, and you'll knock out one of the cleaning girls when she's alone. Hide her in a hidden room and steal her equipment. This way, you will have an alibi that you are a cleaner. Once done, it will be a matter of leaving the girl asleep in a chair if she had fallen asleep from work. And since she won't remember anything that happened to her, when she's seen, she'll think she fell asleep for real. I've got it all figured out. Wow. And you came up with all of that last night? Well, not me alone. She looked over at Yuri and she looked away embarrassed. I could tell she didn't like the attention. Well, we'll have to prepare all the necessary material, won't we? Right. We'll need several things. Earpieces and spy cameras for both of us. I'll be guiding you from here in case things get ugly or something doesn't go as expected. I will give you exact instructions on what to do all the time. And finally, 5 balaclavas, 5 pairs of gloves, a lockpick, and a silence pistol. Silence reigned at our table. We were so excited about the plan that we hadn't even thought we should end his life. Suddenly, Sayuri stood energetically. Well, he was a bad person and deserves hell. Bento and Natsuki don't. So, if we have to do it, we'll do it. It's 5 a.m. and I still haven't been able to sleep a wink. Alright, y'all. This is where we left off. So we are going to cut it off here. I am so glad to be able to get this off my to-do list. It was in the back of my mind for a while since I recorded the first one and uploaded it. Like I said, everything that I'm recording is like a few days after. It's a few days before it gets uploaded. So they're not like recorded and then uploaded the same day. Either way, I'm glad to get part 2 out of the way. I'll edit this and then export it, and then it'll soon be uploaded. And then I will upload the other parts, and then that would be a completed series. So, if anything, if I upload this video, there will probably be a double upload with part 2 and then part 3. And then after that, after I've uploaded probably all of it, I'm indecisive of which mods to play. I have a few in mind, but we'll see from which ones I choose. Because I like playing ones that have simple story, but I also like ones that have multiple branches to them, so you can get different endings here and there. Anyway. Of course, as always, we have to give a little small recap of what happened. So we met up with Monika, who is looking very well for herself. We revealed our identity to her. She didn't take it very kindly. Banged her head. We were kicked out and then banned. We then found Yuri in a coffee shop, which now that we're finding out later is coincidentally a safe house for her Yakuza connections. So we found her, had Yuri go in, and then that's where the whole plan started. Apparently, even if we don't kill them physically ourselves, just leading them to their death is considered murder on our part. I won't let go more of what I know. Part 3 has all those stuff, so this all the other parts, I forgot how many parts I recorded for this. But yeah. Anyway, I can now say that with part 2 now re-recorded again, I have two completed playthroughs. So never think I'd be doing that. Anyway, if you like this video, why not hit it a like? And if you enjoy this type of content, I intend making more, so why not hit that subscribe button? This has been Doki Doki I'm Alive, and hold up. Let's go to the menu. Right here. This has been Doki Doki I'm Alive. This has been Bento. Hit those keys. Bento out.